Hey students, welcome to the recording of the lesson Maria's Stressful Week that is in Unit 1 of Summer Bridge. So if you're watching this video, it's because you couldn't make it to one of our live events or our live lessons, which is totally fine. Or maybe you did attend one and you want to watch it again so that you can get a little bit more information. So either way, welcome. So I'm going to introduce you to the folks in the room, and what we're going to be doing is just walking through this activity and essentially modeling for you how this conversation would have went or did go in some of the live events, and also just modeling how to have these kinds of Zoom discussions in your classroom. So I know we've met before. I'm Sarah. As you know, I'm the coordinator of the Avid Center. I work with lots of new students at Mount Hood Community College in Bridge and other things, and I look forward to maybe seeing you in Computer Lab 1451 this term. And I know you've met Stephanie, but I'll let her reintroduce herself.
Hi everybody, I'm Stephanie. I work with the Student Success Programs on campus, and I am attached to the Avid Learning Success Center in the before times. That's where I work, where my office is, but I'm coming to you from my home office. And I look forward to working with all of you.
Thanks, Stephanie. And for some of you, this might be the first time that you're meeting Nikki Harwood.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nikki. I'm the coordinator for the TRIO program. We specifically work with students who are transferring to a university. So if you're planning on moving on to a university after Mount Hood, definitely contact us. We do have an application process, but it's pretty quick, pretty easy, and a few eligibility requirements. But the reality is we're really the transfer experts on campus. We take you to visit university campuses along with academic advising and other guidance around scholarships and other things to help you be successful.
Thanks, Nikki. And I can vouch for the TRIO program. They are amazing, and you will watch a video about them. Is that in Unit 1 or in Unit 2 at Bridge, Stephanie?
It's in Unit 2.
It's in Unit 2. Okay, so look out for that. And then I also want to introduce you to Nick Sage.
Hi, I'm Nick. I am a former Avid Learning Specialist, a former TRIO Learning Specialist, and I am currently the Learning Specialist with Mount Hood Scholars, which is part of the Student Success Program. So if you become part of Mount Hood Scholars, you will have access to me to help you with your writing and your math and to help you get through those in your first year, so they are taken care of.
Thanks, Nick. So before we start, I just want to remind everyone that we are recording this from our homes, and so anything can happen. I myself am having all kinds of internet issues, so I wouldn't be surprised if my face froze and I had to turn my camera off. So I just want to let you know about that. Anyone else having stuff going on that we need to be aware of in their homes?
Well, I am not showing video because I am in my closet with my cat because my building is currently doing lawn work, and also they're doing construction on the apartment above me, which is why I'm staying muted when I'm not talking. So
thanks, Nick. Thank you for being here today. Okay, so we are going to start with Maria's Stressful Week, and I'm going to share screen, and I am going to pull up the case study, which is our Word document. It's in your printed packet. It also can be found within the lesson in Unit 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by reading this. If you've already read the case study and you don't want to read it again, you can just fast forward just another minute or two to the next part of the video. So we'll start by reading the case study, Maria's Stressful Week.
Maria is excited to begin college, even though she isn't 100% sure of what her major will be or which degree she wants to pursue. She is ready to start taking classes at Mount Hood Community College. She was hoping to apply to PSU for fall term, but decided to wait due to the pandemic. A few of her friends went to MHCC and had good experiences, so she feels pretty good about things so far. Since all of her classes are online, she figures it should be easy to work around her shifts at Fred Meyer.
Maria is taking 3 classes: Math 95, Intermediate Algebra, Writing 121, English Composition, and HE 261, CPR. She's excited about algebra because she did pretty well in her high school math classes. The CPR class is only 1 credit, so she thinks it might not be too much work. The only class she's really worried about is writing, since it's always been a little bit of a struggle for her to get down her words on paper. She wonders, will it be easier or harder to write for an online class?
Her friend Dominic took classes during spring term and explained Maria's schedule to her. For writing 121 and HE 261, the schedule says 0 to 0 for the days and times. Dominic says that means the class is totally online. No specific days that she has to video chat or Zoom with her instructor and classmates. She thinks that's good because her house isn't always quiet. She just found out she will have to share her laptop with her little brother since his middle school is online too. Dominic also says that these classes use Blackboard for all the assignments, so Maria makes sure to bookmark the Blackboard site on her computer. The schedule for Math 95 is TRF 10 to 11:50. That means she will probably have to meet the instructor online during those times.
Saturday night before classes start, Maria logs into her new Saints email account and finds a message from her math instructor, Megan Clemens. She's supposed to follow a link for Zoom and use it to attend class once fall term begins, which doesn't sound too hard. However, Megan Clemens also says she needs to buy a textbook as soon as possible. Maria hasn't even thought about books. Why didn't Dominic tell her that? At least her instructor shared a link to the MHCC bookstore website. The site says she can buy the book online and have it delivered to her house, but she doesn't have any extra money until she gets paid again in another week.
Maria decides she's not going to stress about that right now. Instead, she's going to try and learn more about Blackboard. She goes to the Blackboard site, but she can't find any info about her classes. She's following the directions, so why can't she see her classes? Maria texts Dominic, but she doesn't get a reply.
It's Sunday morning and still no reply from Dominic. Maria checks her Saints email again and rereads the messages about Blackboard. It turns out that students won't be able to access classes in Blackboard until the day before class actually starts, which is today. Maria logs in and tries to get familiar with the site, but it's a little bit confusing. She can't even find the page with her CPR class. Maybe it's not ready yet?
On Sunday afternoon, she hears back from Dominic. He tells her that he was able to use his financial aid to buy textbooks without having money up front. That is great news to Maria. So she goes to the bookstore website to order her Math 95 textbook, but she keeps getting an error message. Instead, she sees an email address on the website, so she sends a message and hopes someone will answer her.
Now it's Monday morning and things are starting to get better. First, Maria receives an email from the bookstore customer service. She can't use financial aid at the bookstore because she is missing some documents, so she has to contact MHCC's financial aid department. Maria speaks to a financial aid advisor and she finds out she never completed the financial aid online orientation. She's able to do that pretty easily, so by Monday afternoon, she orders her math textbook. She hopes the book gets delivered quickly to her house.
By Tuesday at noon, Maria is frustrated. She still doesn't know where to find her CPR class online. She's not sure if she's completing her writing 121 assignments correctly, and on top of that, her brother has been using her laptop all morning. She tries to log into Saints email with her phone, but she can't remember her password. By the time she does get into her email, she has a new message from her math instructor, Megan Clemens. Maria missed the first meeting today at 10 a.m. How did that happen? She rereads her schedule and it says TRF. Doesn't that mean she has class Thursday and Friday? But today's Tuesday, right? And the instructor says there's a quiz on Friday too. Maria thought math was going to be her easy class, but between the textbook, missing the first class, and now a quiz at the end of the week, it doesn't seem easy at all.
Maria receives an email that her math textbook will be delivered by Friday. At this point, she's not excited about math class anymore. She's not even sure she wants to go to school right now. It's only Tuesday and she already feels defeated. Later that evening, she drives past the MHCC campus on her way to work. Looking at the empty campus, she wonders what college might have been like for her if COVID had never happened.
Maria, what a stressful week, huh? While we hope that as students, you don't experience all of these things in 1 week, we know that these are actual things that happen to our Mount Hood Community College students. That's why we wrote this case study. So I want to give you an opportunity to think about how you would react in this situation, and also give you an opportunity to learn some ways to get resources and how we can help you. So question number 1 says, listed below are some of the events that added to Maria's stressful week. If you were Maria, which event would stress you out the most? Rank them in order of 1 to 5, with 1 being, no, 1 to 6, with 1 to 6, with 1 being the most stressful. Give a different score to each event. So if you haven't done number 1 and number 2, go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and do number 1 and number 2 on your own, and then you can start watching again when you're ready. So staff, let's talk about this a little bit. Who would tell me, if you were Maria, what would be your most stressful event?
Missing the first math class.
And why would that stress you out so much, Nick?
Just because, I mean, even if I think I'm comfortable with math, just the fact that I'm already behind, and then what's my instructor going to think? I didn't show up for the first math class, and it's just a lot of extra stress.
Yeah, thank you. Somebody else.
For me, I'm kind of torn between not being able to log into Blackboard, because that's apparently how I'm supposed to access my online classes, but also not having a textbook feels really stressful. I like to have those things up front and be prepared.
Yeah, I hear you on the Blackboard one, but I also feel like, yeah, if you don't have your textbook, you can't even do the thing that you missed, right?
Yeah.
Stephanie, what about you?
I think for me, it would be having to share her computer. You know, motivation and being ready to do stuff is really big. And when you have to wait, it's, you know, by the time you get that computer, you may not feel like that's what you want to be doing at that particular time.
I'd have to agree with, I think maybe Nick, missing the class, kind of a tie between missing the class and missing Blackboard. And I get frustrated when technology doesn't work, so that would probably add to my frustration. Okay, thanks everybody. Oh, we'll just move on to the next one. Okay, so of the events listed above, which event do y'all think that Maria had the most control over? And which did she have the least control over? And I'll scroll up a little bit so we can see them again. What about the most control? What do y'all think?
I think missing her math class again, personally.
Is there any, okay, we'll talk about what she could have done differently in just a minute. I forgot about that. Anybody else?
Well, I think, you know, checking for textbooks and checking for whatever supplies or things that you might need before classes start is, you know, something that we can have control over.
Yeah, I think I agree with Nikki. That's probably the one. I mean, she did try to log into Blackboard. It's not, so that's something she doesn't have control over. It's something that's set up, but looking for the textbook, I think.
Yeah,
doing that exploration.
I agree with those two, probably the textbook the most. Yeah. Okay. For least control, who wants to start with this one?
I think she has the least control over Dominic.
Yeah, definitely Dominic.
What do you think, Nikki?
Yeah, definitely. She has no control over what her friend is doing or not doing. And I think, you know, Blackboard not being available to her, same thing. She did not have control over that. And she did try logging in, and then she kind of reread the descriptors. Now, finding that CPR class is still something that has to be figured out, because she's gotten herself on Blackboard, she's feeling comfortable there, but she's still not seeing that class. So that's one of those things also where I think she can kind of take control over trying to figure out where in the world that other class might be located.
Yeah. I definitely agree with Dominic. I don't know all the details of her life, to having to share a computer with her little brother. It didn't sound like it was much of an option, and depending on what's going on in her family, but I'm kind of thinking, I wonder if there could be some conversations around that in their family to see if there's another solution. But I definitely agree with Dominic for sure. Okay, so there's really no wrong answers to any of these. The whole point of these questions is just to get us to think about what we would do if we were in her situation, and prep us for some potential setbacks maybe that could be happening, some frustrations, because it's not fun when we don't feel prepared, when we feel like we're lost and it feels like everybody else can get into Blackboard and we can't, even though that's not true, but that's how we often feel in these situations. So let's move down. So if we were doing this activity in a classroom, or in a live lesson, we would go into breakout groups, but we're not going to do that right now. But I'm just curious, what everyone thinks about what positive choices Maria made, because there was a lot going on, but she did some positive things. So if you're watching the video, you can definitely just watch us, but I also encourage you to pause the video and glance back at the document to look for some positive choices Maria made. You could circle them, you could highlight them, whatever you want to do to make note on your document. So my folks, what do you think? What positive choices did Maria make?
Well, I think Maria actually made some really good decisions for being a first-time student. She reached out to friends who were already taking classes at Mount Hood to ask their advice. She tried logging into Blackboard even before it was available to her, which is not always common. She also figured out how to order her book, and even though she didn't have a credit and didn't have the money right now, but she did figure all of that stuff out in a really short amount of time.
Thank you. What else?
Well, she didn't let the fact that she couldn't order the book, she couldn't order the book the first time she tried it. She didn't let that stop her. She went ahead and contacted somebody for support, and then was able to figure out what was going on and take care of it.
Yeah, she customer service and financially, right? And then she ordered the book. So what she thought might take a couple minutes online turned into a whole thing, and she was able to overcome that.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
That was pretty much it. I mean, she tried the Blackboard. She talked to her friend. She contacted a financial aid advisor. So she actually contacted someone on campus. She went through the bookstore. When the bookstore wasn't working, then she contacted their customer service. So the only thing she really didn't do, honestly, was she didn't directly reach out to her instructors. She did hear from her math instructor, but other than that, she actually did some good stuff, I think.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to reiterate that she didn't give up, and she didn't, for lack of a better term, like spiral into kind of this despair of like, okay, this is not working. I missed a class. I did this thing, I'm just going to drop out. She's upset. And we know that right at the end of the story, she's, wondering, like, she's not even excited about math anymore. She's wondering, like, what would college be like? And I think these are real emotions that our students are going through. I mean, we know even as employees, like, this has been a hard year doing what we're doing. So for our students, it's so much harder. So even though she just, I'll just put, she didn't spiral. She didn't give up. She didn't spiral. She kept going, which I think is really as much as we can ask of our students, right? And it's such an important skill to have.
And I think one thing she did too that I didn't mention was not only was she checking her Saints email, but she actually went back and reread the emails. That's how she learned that Blackboard wasn't available yet. So that was also good.
That's great. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out because we often get a gazillion emails, right? And so it takes time and energy to go back and find the information. And it sometimes it's stressful if we can't find it right away. So she kept her head and was able to do that. So thank you for pointing that out. Okay, so what could she have done differently? Nick, you already said one, that you said that she could have contacted her math instructor.
Yeah, or actually, and also since she was having trouble finding her CPR class, she also, I think, maybe could have reached out to her CPR instructor.
Yeah. So we're going to talk in just a few minutes how you can find that information, even if you don't see it in Blackboard. We're going to show you where all that information is, which is great. What else could she have done differently?
Well, she made an assumption about the schedule for her math class.
Yeah.
And so she could have looked into that into a little more depth to make sure, either with Dominic or with something online, to check that assumption.
Yeah. So she thought TRF meant Thursday and Friday, and we all know that it actually means, what does it really mean?
Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Tuesday, which is the T, Thursday, which is the R, and Friday, which is the F. And so sometimes finding that key for the schedules is in a tricky place, but Tuesday, Thursday, Friday is the actual days that so no wonder it stressed her out. She didn't expect to have to be in class for 2 more days. Anything else?
The only other thing I would say, and new students don't know to do this very often, but you can start doing this stuff earlier than right before classes start. So doing things like ordering from the bookstore, figuring out how to get your textbooks. You can't log into Blackboard and stuff like that, but some of this stuff you can do a bit before classes start. And so then when you have to have something mailed to you, you can have it at the beginning of the.
Yeah, and the same thing with financial aid, because usually the earlier the better with financial aid, because right before class starts is when a lot of people are doing it. So the earlier you can do it, lots of things, meeting with an academic advisor, registering for your classes, meeting with financial aid, you leave that for the last minute, it does add stress. But again, she is a new student. And so it can be really easy for us to say that, but we want to remember that she was doing the best that she could also. Okay, so thanks everybody. Let's go ahead and scroll down to the next area and let's address some of these ways that if you experience these sort of things, if you are Maria, we're going to show you some concrete examples of how you can actually get some help with this. Okay, so folks are going to be helping me, and I'm going to be switching between here and the website to show us these things. So what do you think if you can't log into Blackboard? Let's remind everyone what the deal is with logging into Blackboard.
So to log into your Blackboard account, you need your student ID number. This is me not remembering because I log in a different way. And is it your 4-digit birthday or your 6-digit birthday?
Yeah.
Sorry.
And can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
I just want to make sure. Yeah. So
Yeah,
thank you,
yeah,
Stephanie.
okay.
You were right. You enter your 6-digit student ID number and your 6-digit birthday right on the Blackboard page. And I will put this link in the document. But there's some really cool help right here, right? Forgot your password? Need student help? Need to contact the Blackboard folks? You can do that right from that page. But I encourage you to also bookmark the Blackboard website on your computer. What does it mean to bookmark something on your computer?
Just a quick link so you can get there with one click, basically.
Okay, thank you. And even if you can log into Blackboard, when will your classes show up?
Not until the day before. Is it the day before your class starts, or the day before school starts?
It's a good
I
question.
wasn't clear on that from her instructions. So
I think it's the first day of class that I'm thinking as we're talking about that, I was thinking about the CPR class. For most of your classes, it should show up on Sunday, the day before classes start. Nikki's nodding her head.
That's why I was wondering maybe the CPR class hadn't showed up because maybe it was just a once a week class and it was like on Thursday or something. So,
Or
What do
it
you
could,
think? Go ahead.
it could be a weekend class that's just 2 days and it's in 5 weeks. It doesn't start for 5 weeks.
And I think we're going to talk about that next. Okay,
Yeah.
good. So we'll get to that in just a second before we confuse our students even more. There's a lot of stuff, but you really won't be able to access individual classes until the day before the class begins, if it's what we call a regular 10-week full-term class. So you were able to get into your summer bridge course early, but you won't be able to get into your other classes until the Sunday right before. Okay. All right. Now, if the other thing I want you to find out or know is if you can't log into Blackboard, we also have a department on campus whose job it is to help with Blackboard and all things with online learning. So you can see me just moving to the MHCC our main webpage, and under academics and training, I'm going to go to the link for online learning, and I'm going to put this link in the Word document. But the online learning department, these are the folks that manage all of the Blackboard pages. So if you notice, they have a phone number and an email address right there. So I'm going to copy and paste the website, and I'm going to put that right into the Word document. So you can talk to them if you can't log into Blackboard. You can also talk to them if your classes aren't showing up. Or you're having any questions about the actual using Blackboard. They're the folks that you want to talk to about that. Send them an email, a phone call, and they're really helpful. Now, there could be a couple of reasons why your class isn't showing up in Blackboard. It could be a technical issue, like you really are registered for the class, but for some reason it's not showing up. And you could definitely contact online learning. But let's talk about what are some of the other reasons your class might not show up in Blackboard. We already kind of said it.
that may be a short-term class that hasn't begun yet.
Yeah, we have what we call 10-week classes. These are kind of like the whole term. Then we have some other classes that are only 5 weeks, which is half a term. So it's like the first 5 weeks of the term, right? And my friends here are going to tell me if I'm getting this wrong. And then we have other 5-week classes that are the second 5 weeks of the term. So I did this the other day. I was working with a student a couple months ago, and we couldn't figure out why her health class wasn't showing up. And I emailed the instructor, and she was like, oh, it's a second 5 weeks class, which meant it probably didn't show up until the Sunday before the second 5 weeks, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to show you all what that looks like on the website. But does anyone have any other things to add here as to why your classes might not be showing up in Blackboard?
I think go ahead, Stephanie.
Go ahead, Nick.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think the instructors also have to like flip a digital switch to make their classes live. Is that still correct in Blackboard? And so sometimes they may have things they think are live and they actually aren't. So contacting your instructor is also a good decision.
Yeah. What I was going to say is that there are classes like CPR classes, which are only 1 credit, which take place over a weekend. And so they you're only in class for 2 days. And so those might not show up until right before that, before the day that those classes start.
And it could be if it's a kind of a class, they might not even be putting any of their content in Blackboard. It might be very minimal. So if you go to the webpage, and there's a few different ways you can get to the schedule, but I'm going to show you. If we go to, sorry, I'm working on one screen, it's giving me a hard time. You can log into MyMHCC to see the schedule, but I'm also just going to log into schedule classes without logging into MHCC. I'm going to go down here to course search. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up, because there's a few of these that happen in our health and physical ed department. So I'm going to go to our health and physical ed department. I'm just going to scroll all the way down to search. And if you want to see how I did that again, just rewind the video and go back. So, there's a lot going on these pages, but I want to scroll over to the start and end date of the class. So a few of these start September 20th. That's the first day of fall term, and they end December 11th, the last day of fall term. But if I keep scrolling down, I see something different. Look, this class doesn't even start until October 25th. This is a second 5 weeks class. So it's not going to probably not going to show up in Blackboard until closer to October 25th. I want to scroll down to one of those classes that Stephanie was talking about, some of the CPR classes that are just over a weekend, and I might make y'all dizzy by going really fast. But here's one. On the dates over here, it just says 11/1, so November 1st through November 7th. And if I look closer, I even have, okay, so it's over 2 weekends, it looks like. Oh, nope, it's a little bit tricky because there's actually an online component that goes from November 1st to November 6th, but then there's a second online, classroom number 107. So then you also have to be there for the weekend, November 6th and November 7th, for the rest of the class. So this is one of those tricky ones that probably wouldn't look quote unquote normal in Blackboard. Staff, is there anything I missed that you want to say?
Oh, I was gonna say also important note that every class, if there's a textbook link on those there in the middle, so that would let you know if you need to get a textbook or not.
Thank you for bringing that up, because there's two things I wanted to point out here. One, this is also a great way to see your instructor's email address because it's right there listed on the schedule. And there is a link to the actual textbook website. And I think we get to that in just a second, but all these things can be found right on the schedule of classes, which is really convenient. Okay,
and
awesome.
This is a good example, especially this fall term. We have a mix of classes, some that are fully on Blackboard, some that you might go to campus once or twice a week, and then the rest of it's on Blackboard, which is sort of similar to this HE 261, where you have your eCampus, but then you have a couple days on the physical campus where you have to go in person. So that's a little bit confusing for students right now too.
It is. Thank you for bringing that up. And we actually have a video that I made where I explain the difference in those. And I believe that is going to be in Unit 2, where we look at, there's an activity called Making a Schedule for Taylor. And I ask you to watch that video so that you do understand how the schedule works. Okay, awesome. So let's move along a little bit. So we want to make sure that we're reminding to look at, so we talked about how we can use the course schedule, and you can also find this in MyMHCC. So to see start and end time of classes, there's also instructor email addresses, right? Can't type and talk to y'all at the same time. And there's also a link to textbooks. Okay, moving along. What if you can't log into Saint's email or forgot your password? So I'm going to go back to the website, and I'm actually going to start a new window because sometimes it doesn't like back button when I'm in the course schedule. So I'm just going to open up a new window, make sure that it's okay. So there's a couple different ways you can do this, but if you go into this current student tab, sorry, my computer froze, this current student tab at the top, notice there's some awesome links here, like we just went through Blackboard, there's Saint's email, there's information in getting started in Saint's email. So you can get to your Saint's email in MyMHCC, or you can also go this way, which takes you to Outlook. And I'm actually going to click off of that just in case it accidentally went to my personal email. But it clicks onto, that's how you can get into Saint's email. Well, what if you have a question? So I happen to work with one of the coolest guys on campus. His name is Lance. I'm going to show you something. We're going to go to College Services, Avid Learning Success Center. Lance runs our Computer Lab 1451. Some of you might have met him at our bridge events. But right here at the very top, where it says, it talks about all about our remote tutoring and all the things that we do. And there's some links in there, but I want to show you right here at the top where it says fill out this form. If you're having any trouble with Saint's email or MyMHCC, you can just click the box that says computer help. is it password? Is it MyMTC? Is it more than one other thing? And you can write your information here and it'll get submitted. It'll get addressed pretty quickly. Does anybody want to say anything about that?
Although there are other ways to reset your password, honestly, that is the easiest way for students to do it and, get a little extra support as well while they do it. So I recommend that direction.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was going
Thank
to say that was something we could just automatically do in Avid when they would come to the Avid Center before, but we can't do that now because we're remote. So
Well, there is going to be help on campus in Computer Lab 1451. So actually for fall term, it's open Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., which is awesome. And it's also open on Saturday from noon to 4 p.m. So know that you can also come and get help for those things in person. Okay, so moving along, needing to contact the bookstore. The bookstore process that you have all using this year is actually new. It's a new bookstore process. And so I'm going to go back to our webpage. We used to have an actual physical bookstore on campus where you would go and buy your books. We don't have that anymore. We do have this webpage. And if I go to the current students and I go to bookstore, it should take you to this page. It also links if you click from your textbook. But you log in using your student information. You can find your textbooks this way. They can mail you your textbooks, but I also want to let you know that if for some reason you don't have a safe place to mail your textbooks, there is another arrangement you can make to have them shipped to the school. Folks, anything we want to say about the bookstore?
I will, just chime in a little bit. With the login, it will show, if you are able to log in and you're registered for classes, it will show you all of the textbooks for all of the classes that you're registered for together. It'll break them up by class, but it will show you the whole list basically. If you're not registered for classes, if you're not registered for any classes, the login page won't help because it doesn't recognize you. It recognizes only students that are registered, even though you can sign into MyMHCC, you can sign into other things. But if you're not registered, that bookstore tab won't help where it says sign in. You can still use the search for books function to see what the textbooks would cost for a particular class that you may be getting ready to register for. So
And where is the search for book function, Stephanie?
So if you go to instead of the login tab, if you go to the find your course tab, you can click through and put in course numbers and, subject area, so like that PE class or a business class. And then you can actually type in that search course for your course number and it will show you the course items.
Awesome. Okay, and also in your Summer Bridge packet in Get Connected 3, is it part 3, Stephanie?
Yep, it's part 3.
Get Connected part 3, we have all the steps with screenshots, links to videos, and other ways to get help. Okay, so I want to make sure that you do that. All right, we are running out of time, so I just want to go through these last ones. What happens if your books won't be delivered until after class begins? Thoughts on that? What should you do?
I mean, students are often terrified to contact their instructors, but that's one of the best things that you can do is just talk to your instructors. They understand, they're friendly people, and just contact them, let them know your situation, and often they'll be able to work with you.
yeah,
Right.
mileage may vary. Oh, go ahead.
No, you talk.
I was gonna say mileage may vary, but I've had students I've worked with who instructors have actually sent them like PDFs of like the first chapter of a book, or they'll take pictures with their phone and send it to the student because like your instructors don't want you to fail. They want to help you, but they need to know if you need help. So.
Right.
Totally. Thank you. They will do that. And sometimes the library might even have a copy of the book that you could borrow. So those are all different things that you could do, but please contact your instructor because they know, especially this term, it's kind of tricky with the new bookstore system.
Yeah.
All right, what if you need to contact a financial aid advisor? I'm going to go back to our website here. Under registration and financial aid, I can hover over that. I can go to the financial section. And my suggestion to you would be to send them an email. There's this email address right here. There's also a phone number, but there's an email address right at the top. So I'll put this link in the chat, and they're pretty quick about answering those emails. Nikki, do you have any thoughts on that?
The only thing I would say, when you're sending an email, be sure to put your name and your student ID, because they get a lot of emails and that'll help them be able to respond.
Perfect. Okay. And that goes along with this other part. If you need to complete some missing documents like financial aid documents, they will let you know exactly what you need. And if you have some questions about how to fill them out, you can always contact Abbott.
And I'll put in a little plug for the frequently used links on the MyMHCC student homepage. That box has tons of links, all of which are super useful for students. You know, how to pay your bill, how to check your missing documents, how to get your books. There's all kinds of things that are there that are super useful. So check there and see if you can find a link that will help you out.
Smart. And when you do log into MyMHCC, mine looks a little bit different because I'm not a student, but after you log in, right here on the right under the red banner, it'll say frequently used links, and all that is there. And you also did practice that in, I believe, part 1 or part 2 of Get Connected. So
if you haven't practiced it in part 1, you will practice it in part 2, which is the next lesson.
okay, thank you. And then missed a Zoom class. You missed a class. What should we do?
Contact your instructor.
I'm gonna put it all caps. Why, Nick?
Because, well, one, you let them know that, like, hey, I'm not just ditching class. Also, they can give you information. And since we're dealing with Zoom stuff, most of those classes are recorded, and the instructor can actually give you access to the video.
And there's one other important piece too, which I think is probably what Nikki's going to say.
Yeah,
You could get dropped if you don't attend the first class. That doesn't mean you can't re-register for that class, but it causes a whole lot of pain and anxiety. So just let your instructor know that you made a mistake, you missed the first class. They won't drop you. You are intending to participate.
Well, awesome, everyone. Thank you so much for your time and all of your insights. And students, thanks for paying attention. This is a long video, kind of like the classes you're going to be in, right? You might be in class, either in classroom or on Zoom for more than an hour. So you hung in there. You did a great job. And remember, you can always email Abbott at MHCC if you have any questions, not just about this lesson, but all the stuff that we talked about. If you're like, I forgot where this resource is, or remind me of this thing that you told me in the lesson, and me and the other learning specialists will walk you through that. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon or evening or morning.
Thanks.